How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Do you guys drive station wagons? Evidently, it's not a thing here as much, which, you do see them. You see station wagons quite often, but I found a video called Why Station Wagons Are More Popular in Europe Than America, and the original channel is by CNBC. So, I didn't realize it until I saw this video, like thinking back, like I guess station wagons really aren't a huge thing, which I don't understand why. I've always liked them. Not all of them. Like I don't like the Ford Taurus station wagons from like the mid to late 90s. I don't care for that. I like more of like the older like 70s style station wagons or like the I don't know if you ever watched the that 70s show, but the Vista Cruiser on there. That's amazing. Now my grandparents, they always had a station wagon, which the one they had didn't work. It was just sitting in the front yard for some reason. I don't really know why, but it was kind of it was kind of like the Vista Cruiser. I don't think it was a Vista Cruiser. It was something else, a Plymouth, maybe a Pontiac or something. I don't know, but it was the wood paneled sides. I just always liked them. Just something about station wagons I do enjoy, but you don't really see them these days too much unless somebody has an older one. Like the newer vehicles, they make a lot of like SUVs, crossovers, which is kind of like a mix between an SUV and a station wagon. And of course, you got your regular cars, sedans and whatnot, and then you got pickup trucks, minivans, that sort of thing. Um, Minivans aren't as popular either. I mean, they are for like, people with big families and stuff like that, but just like regular people, that's just trying to drive a vehicle. A lot of people would go for a car. A lot of people go for trucks. I've never really been a truck guy myself. I don't really have a reason to have a truck. It's not really, I mean, they do come in handy. They really do, if you need to haul stuff, but like how often do I need to haul anything? You know what I mean? Normally you can find somebody else that has a truck and you just borrow theirs or see if they can, carry whatever load or, haul whatever it is that you have for you. Just give them some gas money and a little bit of time, maybe take them out to lunch for doing it for you. But other than that, I've never really had a personal reason to use a truck or, to just own one. But station wagons, I'd like to have an old station wagon from the 70s. Kind of. I mean, I think they're kind of cool. But anyways, the links to the original video will be in the description section down below, as always. And we're going to find out why station wagons are more popular in Europe than America. Let me know if you guys have a station wagon, actually.
Wagons away! Hi, I'm Jack
Wagons
Smith,
away.
and right now it's station wagon savings time in the West. Time to hit the trail in high style with all the room and comfort that only a Rambler station wagon can give you.
Like that. Oh, wow. I paused it right when the video went to pause. That's interesting. I love the style of that. Like, to me, that is great. And it kind of reminds me of a hearse, like an old hearse, which, not gonna lie, I would drive around in an old hearse. Like, I think they look so cool. Although it might be a little haunted. I don't know how that goes.
The station wagon was once a fixture of American family life. It was a common sight in American garages and frequently featured in popular culture.
That's a hearse.
These days, however, it has nearly vanished from U.S. roads.
Yeah, that Ghostbusters one that they just showed, that was definitely an old hearse. But it looks super cool. And maybe that's why I like hearses, because, like, I love the Ghostbusters movies.
Americans, at least most of them, just don't like the segment. And it shows in the tiny number of wagons sold every year.
I like that.
Americans just don't like wagons. For whatever reason. We have rejected the body style for many years. It's been declining. We think back to perhaps some of those movies like National Lampoon's Vacation, where a family travels across the country in a wagon. Those days are long behind us. And these days, wagon sales are less than 2% of all industry sales.
I don't know why.
Meanwhile, crossovers and sport utility vehicles continue to swallow market share, leading many manufacturers to believe that if they want to sell a wagon, they need to lift it a bit, maybe cover it with some cladding, and call it a crossover.
Yeah, you do see a lot of crossovers, which is basically one of the closest things you're going to get to a station wagon without actually having a station wagon.
Well, you want the crossover tag associated with it because that's what people are buying. And that's what they want to buy. At some point, they may want another tag because it's no longer cool to own a crossover or an SUV. But right now, that's not the case yet.
I love those Volvos though. Like that to me, I don't know why, I just like it.
In 2018, consumers around the world bought just under 2.5 million wagons, roughly a mere 3% of all new cars sold. In the United States, the segment represents only about 1 to 2% of all sales.
Wow.
But in some European countries, sales are several times that. Wagons represented nearly 20% of all sales in Germany and at least a quarter of sales in some Scandinavian countries, such as Finland and Sweden. Wagons also comprised 23% of all sales in Czech Republic, 16% in Slovakia, and 15% in Poland.
Wonder why that
Sweden
is.
is our home country. Close to 50% of our volume is related to wagons. You have the best residual values, you have the most loyal consumers, and also that is how we live in Sweden. You know, nature is very important. We do exactly in line with Americans. You know, it's a lot of football and a lot of sports associated with our kids. So we need a space. And so the legacy of wagons is really in our DNA. Also, you see them all over the place in the roads in Sweden and in Europe.
Yeah, I forgot that Volvo is actually a Swedish company.
More than 70% of all wagons sold in the world are sold in Europe.
Oh, wow.
There, the wagon is still seen as an efficient blend of function and performance, especially when fuel prices can be quite high.
Yeah, that's one thing I never really understood. Like in America, you got all these people in these massive SUVs and these massive trucks, but then they're going to complain about the gas prices. Get a smaller car. Get something that's more efficient with gas and stop complaining. You know what I mean? Like I don't get it. It's like they're creating their own problems. They get the most gas guzzling vehicle that they can get and then complain about not being able to afford the gas to put in it. Like, what?
In Europe, the station wagon continues to be the body type for many families, even though they have lost traction as well in Europe.
Okay.
Despite the fact that Europe is the world's wagon stronghold, data do suggest that sport utilities are eating into its share on that continent as well.
Huh.
Of course, on the other end of the spectrum, US data show that sport utility vehicles have completely eclipsed the wagon as the family hauler of choice. Wagons have
why.
steadily lost share in the US new car market, from 3.69% of new car sales in 2008 to 1.4% in 2018.
Now, is part of that because they don't offer as much, like as many of them for you to even buy? Like, you know, I feel like if you go to a car lot and there's more station wagons on the car lot available for purchase, maybe the numbers wouldn't go down. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they are offering the vehicles the same, and it's just the choice to not buy it. I don't really know. I don't go to car lots, so I could be completely out of the loop, I guess.
Crossovers and SUVs grew their share of the new car market in the US by 20% from 2008 to 2018. They now make up nearly half of all new car sales.
Oh, wow.
For now, wagons have managed to find a way to keep a foothold, albeit a small one, in America.
I like the Subaru Outbacks, all-wheel drive. I like those. They're nice.
For example, the segment-straddling Subaru Outback has been a tremendously successful product for that company. Part wagon, part crossover, the Outback was introduced in the 1995 model year as a variant of the Subaru Legacy, but was soon spun out into its own distinct brand and has become something of a phenomenon. The Outback alone accounted for the vast majority of wagon sales in the US. Of that 1.4% of the US market wagons have, the Outback alone makes up 1.2%. In other words,
Oh, wow.
almost all of it. That means all wagons sold by all other brands combined would account for just 0.2% of the total US new car market.
That's crazy.
So when we talk about wagons, we're essentially talking about one model with a very decent industry share, and then a handful of other models that quite frankly don't sell very well.
The Outback is an example of how wagon-like vehicles can be successfully marketed in the United States, and perhaps gives an idea of how they are likely to look in the future if they stick around. Though it retains many of the basic features of a wagon, the car is lifted a bit and covered in plastic cladding to give it more of a rugged outdoor appearance.
That's kind of weird saying covered in plastic to make it look more rugged. Like,
It retains the basic silhouette of the wagon, but the Outback has evolved over time to incorporate more attributes of SUVs and crossovers, Subaru told CNBC.
you know, one thing I like about station wagons is it's like a car most of the time, except for like the Outback. I guess it's getting more SUV attributes or whatever. But historically speaking, it's more of like a car, right? I'm not a car guy, so don't quote me on it. But I think it's built on a regular car chassis, but just has the hatchback part in the back, right? So you're gonna get better gas mileage, but you still have more room without having to go get an SUV that costs more gas or you know, getting a truck. Whereas a truck, yeah, you can haul more stuff, but your cab, you know, your interior cockpit or whatever you want to call it, is smaller. So by having a roomy interior, but without getting a minivan or an actual SUV and saving the gas. So it's like the best of both worlds, I think. That's one of the things that appeals to me.
This includes standard all-wheel drive, the ability to tow up to 3,500 pounds, and a full 8.7 inches of ground clearance, higher than what is found on many SUVs, the company said.
Oh, really?
They were one of the early players, obviously, in this crossover space before the term crossover was even mentioned, and that's, you know, again, when they were being called wagons. So I think they've done well. They've got a very loyal buyer. They've expanded into, you know, certainly the outdoor lifestyle buyer has long been a Subaru advocate. So I think, you know, as that continues to develop and people are more interested in active lives and certainly what Subaru has to offer from just an on-road capability, but also on dirt and on trails even.
The Outback shows that selling a wagon in the US may be a lot easier if it happens to look like a sport utility vehicle. In fact, it might be one of the only wagon-like vehicles to survive in the United States.
But yeah, no question about it. The wagon market is certainly taking cues from the SUV and crossover segments and adding, as you said, a little bit of cladding, raising the ground clearance up a little bit to give it that view that essentially it can compete with the crossover.
That rather dire outlook has not stopped other automakers from rolling the dice, though. General Motors sells the Buick Regal Tour X, a US version of the Opel Insignia wagon GM used to sell in Europe when it owned the Opel brand. Notably, the US version has the same plastic cladding and slight lift, which is not seen on the European version.
Okay, so it's more of a rugged style of the European version, I guess, to appeal to the American market. And I get the raising it up a little bit. Our infrastructure sucks compared to Europe's, you know, and the country is so vast that you got all sorts of different kinds of terrain depending on where you go. Like if you go to West Virginia, it's all the way in the Appalachian Mountains, so you're gonna have to have a vehicle that's a little bit higher off the ground to get, you know, to get through some of the rugged terrain, the back roads that are dirt and, you know, maybe a lot of potholes and stuff like that. Whereas a shorter, lower to the ground vehicle is going to have more issues going through that kind of terrain. Whereas Europe, it has pretty good infrastructure. The roads, I'm told, are pretty decent, and probably less dirt roads over there. I think at least in the videos that I've been watching, I haven't seen a lot of dirt roads. But you do, you know, depending on where you are in America, you do see dirt roads and stuff. So I could understand the need to raise the vehicle a little bit here to compete with the American market and stuff.
But with a lower center of gravity, it gives more sedan-like driving dynamics and a lower roof for easy rooftop access, key features wagon buyers want in a car.
Okay.
There are several positive signs for wagon fans elsewhere in the US, if they have the cash. Much of the variety in the US wagon market is found at the higher end, where
Audi.
luxury and high performance can gloss over the otherwise dowdy and domestic image the wagon has. Given the fact that the countries with some of the highest wagon sales are Germany and the Scandinavian nations, it makes sense that most of these premium wagons are from German and Scandinavian automakers.
Yeah, I was gonna say Audi's a German company, and Volvo, not Scandinavian. I learned recently, it's Sweden. Or no, yeah, Sweden is Scandinavian. Sorry, my bad. Finland's the one that's not Scandinavian. So yeah, Volvo being from Scandinavia, uh, and Audi being from Germany, that makes sense.
The Swedish brand Volvo is perhaps the brand best known for wagons, and it's among the brands most committed to the segment in the United States.
I like that one.
Though Volvo has lately focused intensely on building out its lineup of sport utility vehicles,
that too.
a substantial portion of its portfolio is still in wagons.
We have the same, I see the same opportunities in US. So one part of me is a little bit confused that this should be much bigger. The volume should be much bigger.
Yeah.
But then we have the SUV trend in US that probably overlaps that kind of, because you get the space too, an SUV.
Something about Americans and the need to have the biggest vehicle on the road. I never really understood it myself, but it is a thing here. So with that mindset, of course, people do gravitate towards the SUVs.
But I would say the wagons are, for me, they're beautiful. And I think you see the cars here. Design-wise, they are not boxy anymore and they are not boring. You get both. You get the driving capabilities as a sedan, and you get more space, and also it looks sporty.
I like the boxy style, but back to what I was saying about Americans, wanting to have the biggest vehicle on the road. Our roads are wider also. European roads a lot of times are smaller because a lot of those towns and cities were built long before the car. So they weren't really designed for big vehicles. So a lot of times Europeans will drive a smaller vehicle. So it does make a lot of sense why they would want a station wagon more so, because it's a smaller vehicle, but it still has that room. SUVs and giant massive trucks and giant minivans aren't really gonna go through, and fit well in a lot of the roads and small places that you have in Europe. So that does make a lot of sense.
And that's what we aim for.
Volvo sells the mid-sized V60 wagon and the larger V90. Both can be bought in the cross-country trim, which means the car is lifted and comes with the familiar dark cladding on the sides of the car. And Volvo also has a 415 horsepower performance hybrid version of its V60, bearing Volvo's Polestar brand, which was once its in-house performance shop and now specializes in making high-performance electric vehicles. Mercedes-Benz sells its E-Class wagons in the US, mostly to well-heeled buyers with families.
I like that one
The
too.
car sells especially well in the Northeast. Wagon sales make up a tiny portion of Mercedes' US total, 0.7% to be exact.
Wow.
But buyers are loyal, and they pay. An E450 4MATIC wagon starts at about $66,000, and the higher performance AMG E63S starts above $108,000.
Jeez.
Fellow German automaker Audi said in August of 2019 it plans to bring the RS6 Avant wagon to the US. The
Nice.
RS6 Avant is a performance wagon Audi will sell alongside the A4 all-road wagon it currently offers, and the A6 all-road, which Audi said in October it will also be bringing back to the US. In recent years in the United States, Audi has only sold its A4 all-road wagon, which is also a popular choice among premium wagon buyers. Even Porsche has a wagon-like vehicle.
Really?
However, the number of wagon-loving diehards seems to be shrinking, and many in the industry are not optimistic that the wagon will make a comeback anytime soon.
It's all about marketing as well.
I wonder how many more cracks at the bat we're going to get here from this forbidden fruit and these wagons coming from overseas. So things are getting even slimmer for wagon enthusiasts out there. And so the future for wagons is it's going to be tough for future European wagons to really come to the United States.
What buyers are more likely to end up with is a crossover, which some say is really a wagon in a slightly different form.
There isn't a lot of what I would call pure wagon development going on right now. So, with that as a backdrop, the I guess prospects for the wagon aren't necessarily strong, but the caveat here is you're getting into that blurring area where what is a wagon and what's a crossover, and a lot of the stuff that is being developed is, what I would argue is shorter height-wise vehicles that have kind of that crossover style, but are probably more like a wagon.
Sport utility vehicles do seem to have certain practical advantages over traditional passenger cars that consumers seem to find irresistible. Most importantly, their taller height gives drivers a better view of the road and often a more comfortable, upright seating position. Customers also consider them easier to get in and out of. Fuel economy has also improved on SUVs to the point where they are often about as efficient as comparably sized passenger cars.
Really?
But
comparably sized, though. That's the thing. So that'd be a small SUV versus a giant sedan.
their image as more rugged, sporty, and versatile vehicles has played a significant role in their appeal, say many industry watchers. They have become so popular as family vehicles that they may one day end up with the same reputation wagons themselves earned over the decades.
I like that one there too. That one looks really cool. That one's probably from the 60s, or maybe 70s.
Practical, but deeply uncool.
Yeah, that was pretty interesting, guys. Yeah, I like the station wagons. Not all of them. Some of them are a little bit weird and goofy looking. Like I said, the late 80 or mid to late 90s, like Ford Taurus wagons, I don't care for. I like the Volvos. I like the Subarus. Those are really nice. And of course, the ones from the 60s or 70s that look like a hearse, like those ones are super cool to me. But anyways, that was a cool video. And yeah, it's nice to learn about stuff like this. And you guys have a super fun, awesome day, and I'll catch you on the next one. All right, take care. Bye.